GM.
GM, how are you?
I am good. My light is doing all kinds of crazy things here, so it may look like I'm in
Oh,
some weird disco.
it's it just adds to the fun. That's fine.
It does.
Uh,
It's been a minute, Brock. We've
I know.
we've not done this for a hot second. So how
Yeah.
are you? There's been a lot happening.
Good. I think it was appointments because of on-chain summer consumed my mind, and I was good. But doing 12 projects in a month and building basically like 4 to 5 businesses out of it is beyond probably what one should do. But hey, we pulled it off, and now I can sleep, and so things have been much better. So yeah, it's been a minute, but still excited about everything. And building on the Superchain was super great. So
It's super awesome, and I think that it's worth talking about that collective pause that happened last week. This
yeah,
this moment that essentially kind of the Superchain collective decided the focus was going to be touching grass. And there was a reason for that. And that is exactly what you just said. Everybody was just kind of in a sprint, I think, that last week to get
yeah.
everything submitted for the build-a-thon. And I think we all needed just a little moment to just gather ourselves and regroup.
Yeah, I think it's build-a-thons are super great, but also you have to have in the back of your mind like this isn't real, like this isn't reality, right? Like no one builds a build-a-thon thing and goes, and now it's the best thing ever. Like sometimes you have to cut corners, sometimes you're like low on sleep working on things. Like it is good to kind of commit to doing something in a small amount of time. But I think that the real challenge is like what happens afterwards, right? Like do you kind of like continue to go on? Do you reevaluate and see that's like not something, or is it a tool that kind of takes water? Like there's just a lot of questions, and I think going so fast, it's almost, I compare it to like stepping off of a treadmill, right? Like if you don't do like a full cool down, your legs are like still going like super fast, and so you do this like kind of deer walk. At least maybe that's just what I prefer. Like, that's how I do it. But like it's that slow down, and it's like you're going a million miles an hour, and then you kind of like step off your legs are still wanting to go fast, but you have to like no, like we need to like cool down and do that. And so like I think that was like last week where people were scattered because they were trying to get back to reality a little bit.
Is this the first hackathon you've done, or have you done them before?
No, I've done too many, unfortunately, and so very much my brain, the ADHD mind, goes into like the dopamine of like I'm gonna win the challenge, and so yeah, I've won. I've probably done like I want to say like 6 or 7 hackathon build-a-thons in my time, and usually like I've learned, I've dialed it in to play the game, so it's usually like first or second place. There's a whole lot more teams though, than because it's like a global thing. So I don't who knows what will happen. But yeah, I've got it down to a science for like the homegrown kind of like local ones where it's like 20, 50 teams. But yeah, I try to give everybody like at least some of my alpha friends and other things of like, here are the tips and tricks of like how to kind of like do the thing. But for this, we'll see what happens.
It's anybody's game.
For me, it was more for doing the thing rather than like trying to win huge things.
Yeah. And we're definitely going to get into kind of some of the news that was put out last week about quadratic funding. But before we do any of that, let's take a quick moment to just housekeeping, gather, reset. I am Rachel Wilkins. This is my partner in this show, Mr. Brock Breadcat. And we are here every Wednesday for a show we're calling the Superchain Spotlight. And we give you a roundup of news and exciting things that are happening on the Superchain. And we welcome a special guest. And today we have Mark joining us from Optimisn. We're going to be talking about Superfest, which was just kind of rolled out yesterday. And there's a lot of exciting things happening in that DeFi space that we're excited to talk to Mark about. And the team from Optimisn and Superchain, Maxis and Boys Club and a bunch of other cool folks are all in Belgium right now for ETHCC. So I'm hoping we can get a little hot take on any alpha from that kind of IRL experience as well. So we're looking forward to that. But we are going to get right into the news. So we have a big story breaking last couple of days, and that was the degen new tip allowances are going to be based on staking. And I just checked balance this morning, and it's significantly higher, my tipping balance, than it has been. So let's discuss.
Yeah. And again, I feel like everyone's kind of like waiting to see how it's going to play out, because I think it's very much like understanding like it used to be just show up and like the more that you participated, the more that you like casted, the more that you replied, the more the people that liked your stuff, kind of like an open rank kind of algorithm that gave you some kind of balance, right? And now it's the shift of, we want to really put like a 1-foot fence in front of some of the farming that's going on, where people would just like cast and like each other's, and even there was some like automation where people can just like extracting. And now it's based around, you need to stake some degen, so you'll have to have some degen. So and if you don't have any, there's a claim that's like coming up, I think tomorrow. That's the same day that it kicks off. So tomorrow is when everything goes into effect. But I do think you staked already. I'm on the fence. We'll see. So you stake, and then you would now get an allowance. And from that, it kind of like puts a small wall around it. And anyone can stake at any time. But I do think there's a 90-day lockup for the tokens that you stake. And then that gives you your balance. And so I do think that it's some interesting stuff as to like you stake and now you get an allowance. And so, we'll see how that has that an effect. But I think because it's still kind of like up in the air as far as like how much you'll get. I do think there's a cap where like even if you give like 4 million degen, I do think there's like a max of a certain percentage of the allowance that you can get. And so we'll see from there. But that's my take. But still, I think it's my understanding might be not complete.
Well, my allowance was kind of floating around 1,400, 1,500 for the last couple of weeks. And I just looked this morning and it looks like it's gone up to 7,000, which is the most I've had,
awesome.
Period, since I've had degen. So that's very exciting. As long as degen doesn't dive any further south, look at that light. As long as it doesn't deteriorate any further, that will be very exciting because I'll be able to do some awesome things with that.
Yeah, I think it has very much been like an experimental kind of state of like, how do we grow this network? How do we make it to where it's not just people that are trying to like just do a little dance or automate a dance to get free money and then leave. It's how do you create a community in the ecosystem? And I think then in the beginning there was kind of this like trust fall where, there's a claim coming, everyone should sell, like, because everyone's just going to be this sell-off. And like in the beginning that didn't happen. And I think that's what made it like where people are like, wait, what? Like, why did this not dump? It should have. And like some people sold, and no hate if you sold, like it's whatever. But like because that didn't happen, that I think made people even more bullish. And then it happened again where there was like another claim and everyone's just like, I'm just stacking. I don't like whatever. And then I think it got to a point where like enough new folks came in and started dumping it that then kind of took some of the wind out of the sails. And then I think there was some attempt to adjust. And so bullish on that. There's still the desire to try and find the formula that's going to work to kind of like start pumping up the sales again. But we'll see what happens.
Do you think that all of these other fun kind of things like ham and mask and all these others are going to distract from degen? Do you think it contributes to the conversation?
I do think that right now we're in this weird phase, and this happens with startups too, of like I don't like this, so the answer is build another one. And then now there's 10 of them. And it's like, oh, well, I don't like that one. I'm going to make this one. And now there's 20 of them. And so it's like the build a better mousetrap, but then you get just different flavors. And so I think there's going to be some maturity that happens. And so whether degen is that one that matures, or ham is the one that matures, or if it's, Moxie is happening with like the Airstack folks that one seems to be a little bit different too. And so I think that there's this like, experimental phase where a lot of irons are in there. And I think someone's going to crack the code. Hopefully it doesn't get to one where it's like there's 1,000 tipping tokens. I even like threw down the gauntlet of like until we figure this out, until it matures, like I'm just going to throw $100 a month into like a wallet and then just tip people in USDC, and just like, because I think that's what it needs to get to, is like where it's not just throwing around fractions of a penny like willy-nilly. It's like find people that you really care about, and if someone does some like art that just like takes your breath away or makes you feel something, like here's $5. Not that I'm saying your work equals $5, but just like I'm glad I woke up and saw this today. Or someone helps somebody randomly, or really drops like a really great response to someone that maybe is in need, like here's $10. Like I think that is where we need to get into again. And I think that whether we crack it through changing some kind of tipping token, or we just should like, okay, let's just really give people money instead of like these things that we hope will be, because I think the speculative stuff is cool, but if there's not like here's the long vision, right? Like, and I think that's where we need to get. So either someone needs to have a community and a rallying point that everyone buys into that vision and performs and executes, or tipping needs to change to a certain point where it's matured a little bit and it makes more sense, and then some of the projects for the tipping tokens will die. because just people will move to the one that they find they want to put weight behind. So we're in a shift, but it's a healthy shift. It's that kind of like
it is
grow a bunch of different things and then find the way that works, and then everything kind of starts to collapse in on those things, and then we move forward.
The only thing I will say to that is it's much easier to be altruistic when it doesn't feel like your own money. True. And so the lift of like, the difference between taking $100 of your own USD or USDC and taking it out of what you have is, I think we'll see a different kind of human behavior to what we've seen with degen, which doesn't really feel like it's not yours. You have to give it away.
Right. So. Which I'm all for. But I think it's just when there's 20 that grow overnight, you're giving away things that haven't had established value, or like things that we all collectively buy into. I think it was with degen, it was kind of the only one for a while, and it was leading the charge. And I still think that it has a chance. Just like Bitcoin's been around forever, it hasn't gone anywhere. Like there's a chance that degen continues to pick up that steam. But I think it's right now we're in like when things are going down, everyone's scattering and flailing, and so there's a lot more negative looking at it. And I just think that we just need to see, does the staking thing crack the code? Like, was it the farmers that we were worried about, or like do we need to double down on making like tipping easy and fun and all? Like, so again, nothing dies just like instantly unless there's some kind of like terrible thing. And so I don't think no one's like rattling the death bell like on anything. I think if anything, degen probably has the easiest chance of kind of reclaiming. But Ham's doing tons of stuff too. Like some of my friends do more with Ham because there's just more to do than degen. But I also think sometimes because there's so much to do, it can be a turnoff to people. So it's finding that balance and finding something that collectively makes sense.
All right, I'm going to ask the question because I really have not participated in it, and I'm going to add this question into the mix. What the heck is Ham?
So now more than ever, Ham is like an actual token now that gets tipped around.
Well, while you take a sip of your drink, first of all, I'm going to just say GM to everybody watching this on Rug Radio. We just got a little amplification there. So hi, friends. Welcome. This is the Superchain Spotlight. And if you're like, what the heck is the Superchain? It is Optimism, it's Base, it's a few other things that are being built on the OP stack. But we're here essentially during Onchain Summer to make sure you have the most up-to-date information, so you don't miss any opportunities or news or anything exciting.
Yeah. So Ham is a different flavor of tipping token. The real kind of difference was they started leaning in on something called floaties, which is a term basically where like you can tip via emoji, and then an emoji with like math in front of it. So like I want to give you 1,000.
Grandma, and don't like.
Yeah, I think it is I think it is friction for people that are not used to it, but once you start doing it, it becomes easier. So similar to how you would do like amount dollar degen, like that command, if you will, like gives people the tip allowance. Ham is very similar, where each floaty or each emoji has a value, right? And so you have to go and like whatever one you're tipping, you have to know what your value is. I don't know off the top of my head what the Ham one is, but so if I do a Ham thing, like pretend that's 10, and if I do 100x that, then I'm actually giving you 100 times 10. So I'm giving you 1,000. Like, so there's a little bit of math, but I think once you figure out like your allowance, it's easy to go, oh, I just typed this in for here's 1,000 for you, here's 1,000 for you, and go forth. So I think the friction is like, wait, I have to do math to tip, but usually the base amount is like a 10 or 100 kind of thing, just depending. But then, so the floaties thing is not just limited to Ham. It's a technology that like other coins, like Berry, who we've talked about before, they've got their own floaty. And so, you just basically go in and approve a certain amount, or you can use an allowance in Ham's case, and then you can tip that around. So you can tip like real tokens, or you can tip the allowance. But very similar. They also have an L3 that a lot of things have moved to. The person behind it is Deployer, at Deployer, and they're just always cooking out stuff. Very innovative. I got yesterday like a programmatic direct cast because someone tipped me Ham, and like, hey, just so you know, it's now an actual token that you're getting tipped. So that'll be in your wallet. Here's how to do everything. This is like the one and only cast you'll get like this. This is just explaining like a heads up of what happened. And so it's cool to see. Yeah, so it's cool to see them like continuing to push forward on the tipping thing. So it's again getting back to that, like what's the thing that's going to be the next that just makes sense, that just seems obvious, like in hindsight, that kind of cracks the code, if you will, of like what we choose to participate in kind of as a tipping culture.
That's awesome. All right, let's talk on-chain summer. So we noted that last week was a collective pause, challenge to touch grass. There was actually 3 ETH given away to over 200 creators who went onto Warpcast and shared on the base creators channel pictures of them touching grass or enjoying themselves or relaxing. So that was super fun. But in addition to that little collective pause, there was also an announcement about quadratic funding for people who were part of the Buildathon. So what the heck is quadratic funding? Explain it to us like we're 5.
So the way that it works is basically everybody that participated in on-chain summer and like has a project basically gets like 100 votes, and you can look at it as a percentage or however you want to look at it. And then the goal was go through all the projects that you could and check for 2 things. 1, do you really like it? And if so, you can vote for it, and you can vote again up to 100 like points that you could assign. And if you don't like it or you think that it's like plagiarized, then you can report it. And so that it was kind of like a community kind of like watchdog, like, wait, they didn't write this or whatever, because they want to kind of prune anything that was like not up to like what the nature of the build-a-thon should have been. And so then from there, if you vote, there is a 5 ETH pool, and then whoever gets the most votes, everyone, like the total votes have voted divided by however many votes they got is a percentage of that now that they get. And so, and I think there's an extra piece. I'm not 100% sure on this, so don't trust but verify. There's some kind of matching going on as well. So if I voted and you, like this project got, 10% of the pool, there's some matching involved to where I would actually, because I voted, I take part in a piece of that action. And so like that's kind of the magic. So the more that you vote and vote for the things that are well, there's almost like a shared kind of reward from that too. So
I just want to flag something that's been added to beneath our video. It is not a real tweet from Optimism. It says it's talking about an airdrop. Do not click on that link.
Yeah, they don't do things that way, so don't fall for that shenanigans.
Let me report it really quick.
Good call out. What platform is that on? X?
It was, and I almost clicked it. So here we go. Let me just impersonation. There we go.
Stopping the FUD, saving people, right live. But still, be careful. Don't click stuff. That does bring up another piece of news that maybe have gone unnoticed on Warpcast. It used to be if you clicked a link that went off site, there was a big scary warning, and it was like a red button that's like, just so you know, you're leaving Warpcast. They actually got rid of that, and the justification behind it is that now with wallet simulations being a standard practice, you just can check that to see like what you're signing if you are signing anything, and hope that people pay attention to that. Please pay attention to that. But so that they're removing those safety rails that were really heavy at first and toning them down a little bit. And there's another thing that's going live this week that is smart contract signings through frames. And so up until now through frames, you can only like mint or do like a blockchain transaction, like in a small way. You'll be able to like do signatures through frames. So it's like another layer of stuff that's being approved. So.
Are there any concerns with, because I kind of been thinking about this myself, like as I'm moving around on Warpcast, so much of it is enabling a wallet transaction when you click on things, right? It's like sending a message to a wallet. Are there any safety concerns that people could be kind of masquerading as like, The
way that it technically like works right now is that when you trigger one of those, it'll say like you're giving up this amount of money, you're getting an NFT, or you're getting nothing because you're like buying into a game and there's no way to like show that on chain or whatever. And so that simulation is really like the bread and butter of what we should be paying attention to. With signatures, they've done it in a way that I think surfaces a lot of things, but I don't think that there's any like, it's basically through a new contract type that safeguards like forever kind of approvals of things and all that other stuff. So like if you were approving like an allowance of like, hey, you can touch my tokens, it shows the amount that you're approving. And so if it was like indefinite, it would be like a red flag. And I think most wallets in those cases now pop up with a big warning. So like they're kind of offloading it through Warpcast to the wallets themselves to surface that information to the user before they click sign or whatever. So it'll empower a lot of good, but just pay attention to those simulation things that are before you sign. It should tell you as clearly as it can, like this is what you're giving up or this is what you're approving, just so you know. And then from there you can make the call of what you want to do.
Amazing.
But if when in doubt, just back out. Don't do it.
Exactly. I've done a few of those reverse. This doesn't feel good. Doesn't
like, it's okay. No one's feelings gets hurt if you don't sign. Like, it's not like come on, please, everyone, we're going to the pool party. Like, don't rush into it. It's fine. And then just say, this was sussy. Like, why is this happening? That happened when we were building Oregon Trail. For whatever reason, because we started a new wallet and like started taking in a lot of transactions. The security team that is utilized by all the wallets flagged us like falsely that we were doing something malicious. And so there's this big warning of like, don't sign this, basically. And so people weren't playing the game as much. And so it took us like a week to clear it up, which sucks when you're on the up and up and it takes a week to do it. But also I would much rather take a week than have a bunch of people get screwed over. So it's good that we're kind of like being safe as we can for the community and for everything. So yeah.
That's awesome. If you don't have a FUD bust, I think
no one's mad at anything. No.
I will. It's kind of a funny one. So this week, let's see if I can pull this up. 1 second. So I put out a roundup article this week about On-Chain Summer, everything that was happening, and this story just kind of stuck out to me. So I'm going to share my screen.
Sure.
I don't even know if we've talked. I don't think we have talked about this. So there was an On-Chain Summer anthem that dropped. Did you see this?
I did see it across my feeds, but I did not listen to it. Don't know why though. Probably
one of the most the highest engagement tweets from Jesse Pollock, because for two reasons. There was kind of a 50% camp that were like, this is so great, this is awesome, this is, people getting excited and using their creativity to talk about On-Chain Summer. And then there were comments like this one. Where is it? Seriously, this is the only explanation for yesterday's market nuke. People were a little...
Yeah, I'm sure. That's what it was.
So it kind of reminded me of the FUD that happened when Randy Zuckerberg did the Wag Me video. And I always think, look, as much of a divided reaction as these things get, we're all talking about them.
Right. Yeah, I think that there's... more as this goes on, I think that the people that are in on-chain see like how many things that are like positive that are happening, and then I think the people that are outside that would say something like, this is the reason why the market nuked, or like where they're like throwing rocks. Like, I think we're at the point now where it's just like, okay, like I don't think we're as like guard doggy as we used to be, which to me is refreshing. Like, you can critique it all you want, but like, we're over here having fun, and like, we don't care. This is our anthem or whatever. And again, not saying it's my anthem, I haven't heard it, but if we're having fun, like, and enjoying ourselves, like, who cares if someone doesn't like it? That's like everyone's at a party having fun, and someone's like, your music's really loud and I don't like it. Okay, cool. Well, we're having fun, so thank you for your comment. Yeah,
exactly. There was, I'm not going to pull out all the negative comments, but they were kind of funny because there was a bunch of Karens behind PFPs saying things like, I'm going to bridge my base back to ETH after this. Like,
do it.
Okay,
enjoy
go. Don't let the higher gas.
Yeah.
You'll show us. You'll show us.
Yeah, instead of being in a really fast car that has like almost no gas, you're like, I'm going back to the bus. Like, okay, fun. All right.
Enjoy the bus. So yeah, not a lot of fun. That was super fun. What else do we have here? So, I would love to talk about this. So, feature of the week, just yesterday, and you and I can kind of celebrate this a little here because it was super fun to see. So, Dan, who is the founder of Farcaster, had put out a call a couple of weeks ago asking if there were any nonprofits in the space or on Worldcaster that were set up to accept donations, and put out this call. And yesterday, Brock and I both responded. And the reason we've responded is we've been building something behind the scenes called Help, which I'll let Brock tell you about because he is the tech mind and wizard behind this technology. But we were able to get on Dan's radar, and he donated $100 in cash to the Wave Warriors Foundation, making us, I think, the first one, which is super awesome. So definitely celebrating that. Talk to us, Brock, about how this maybe impacts what you and I have been building, and also maybe we can share a little bit more about Help.
Yeah, I think it highlights this growing nature of like, there's a lot of value being made and exchanged but also there's a lot of like social good that wants to happen, but sometimes the frictions don't allow it to. Like if I go to like if I learn about some kind of cause and I'm gonna get a tax hit if I cash out to then donate fiat versus being able to send USDC, which is almost it's the equivalent, but just because of regulations and taxes, depending upon your country, like it can be frictiony, or they might not even accept it, or the companies don't know how to accept it because of the tax reasons for them. Like so, we built through the power of frames and also an embed code and some other things. We're trying to make it really, really easy to not only give, but also good to or easy to receive crypto on-chain donations. And so we made help. That's HALP. Because help is fun to say, and also just making it super easy to tell your story if you're a nonprofit, but also it's almost like the GoFundMe of on-chain stuff too. You as an individual can sign up and tell your story as to why you might have a need or why someone in your community has a need, or if it's a group, like we're trying to fund our basketball team or what have you. You can set up a no-code solution and start taking Ethereum and USDC. For the nonprofit path, we also, sorry, this sounds like an ad, but for the nonprofit path, we also partnered up with Endowment, who helps kind of reduce the tax burden kind of situation for taking things on chain. There's a lot of perks and other things that we hope to kind of continue to further integrate. And yeah, so it's just make it super easy to spin up a frame to get the help that you need, and also make it super easy for people to do that. The biggest thing also behind that is there's how do you know it's going to the right cause? We created a system for people to enter in the wallets that they're going to use, put that on their website for like nonprofits, and then it's kind of public for everyone to see, and we can cross-reference that the frame where the funds are going for the frame match what's on the website, which is like an entity that can't really be changed unless you're official. And then also furthering it for tipping, we confirm the connected wallet matches that as well, and we surface that as two big kind of like either check marks or X's, so you can kind of have confidence that you're giving that it's going to the right place. Looking to do more on the individual side for like social verification and things like that, so that it kind of is as equal as possible to kind of know that it's going to the right person and it's not some kind of scammer pretending to be something. But yeah, so far it's been a lot of success. The first one was the entity that you work with the Wave Warriors, who we've done stuff for before. And yeah, we've already raised a bunch of degen tips as well as some donations, and this was just another $100 to what might not be big or small depending upon your perspective, but still I think it's coming from somebody like Dan is huge in a way. It's like $1 billion company interacting with some fishers that have been working on things from like the 1800s. So super cool to see that like transpired. And again, it wasn't even on my radar. It was other people seeing what we had built, tagging us that like, hey, wait, this is you guys. And so like I got nudged into it. And then once I responded or whatever, I think a lot of people like piled on. So super appreciative to everybody that flagged it to me, helped make that connection, and help Dan kind of recognize on something else that's happening on chain. So,
and I also think this is like a good lesson for those who are like, well, I'm going to build this and, there's no reward, there's no compensation. Like you and I have been like actively doing help for probably 3 months, right? We've been kind of
ideating. It got built all through on-chain summer. Like we were pencils down until that kicked off, but the planning and like prototyping of like, how can this work? Yeah, and how can we make sure that people are transparent, and how can we make sure that it's there? But that's not too big of a burden.
We identify the problem, right?
Yes,
and that was the biggest thing. It's like we identified a problem. The problem was there's a ton of crypto giving. There's a ton of crypto philanthropy. It's been happening since 2017. But what we noticed was the giving is going to the top 100 nonprofits. And why is that? And obviously it's because they have the resources to be able to hire people who understand this technology, to be able to, use technology that probably costs money for them to be able. There's more friction, but they have.
So now it's just you go to sendhelp.xyz and set up your account, hit copy, and then paste it in, right? Like we take care of all the crypto lift and all of the accepting stuff, and it just comes to the wallet that you verified that you're using. So yeah, it's removing that friction or the cost, even like you were saying, to just start connecting people to your audience and new audiences and growing and sharing and stuff like that. So yeah.
The thing that I think is worth pointing out is this idea that we've kind of seen throughout On-Chain Summer, and we've seen with the Superchain, it's like build and you will be rewarded. And while it doesn't sound like we're talking about $100 donation from DWR, that's not what I'm celebrating here. What I'm celebrating is the fact that we're on DWR's radar with this technology that's been built during Onchain Summer because we've been building out loud, and that's huge. And like you said,
it's like a full circle too, because it's his platform made like frames for Farcaster, and then now we're using frames to help this, and now he's feeding into it. So again, it's for the people that are throwing rocks from outside, like, we're doing a lot of good here. And I'm not just saying we as in you and I, like we as the community pushing this effort. Like there's so many facets where so many people are being helped, so many stories are being elevated, and it's all happening because we're here because we know that there's better and we're pushing for it. So.
Amazing. Well, we're going to be talking with Endowment in a couple of weeks. We're going to be on their show. They're doing a couple of days, a little crypto fest for Crypto for Good, and we're going to be participating in that. We're definitely going to get them on the show. So very excited about that. But we are going to move to our special guest because he's in the green room. So let's welcome Mark. What's up, Mark?
Hey. How's it going today?
It's good. How are you?
It's going well. Right now, I'm just tracking all the engagement on Twitter for Superfest, and it's super encouraging. Super exciting to see everyone so stoked on Superfest. So yeah, it's been great.
I loved your tweet this morning with the screaming cat. It was like when what you've been building for 5 months finally goes live. So
I know. It really just started as an idea that we should be promoting DeFi across the Superchain. It was 5 months ago, and it was in a random meeting, and now it's like we're finally here, and the journey to get here was long, but it feels really good.
That's awesome. Well, let's do formal for a second. Can you give us your intro, what it is that you do for Optimisn, and tell people what Superfest actually is?
Yeah, so I sit on the partnerships team over here at Optimisn, and I do a lot of ecosystem partnerships work. So I both work with application developers and also chains as they grow on the Superchain. So what that means is working with chains as they first launch and just introducing them to the wide array of applications on the Superchain, and specifically within DeFi, and then one-to-one relationships with a lot of the DeFi developers, helping them kind of gain more traction, consulting them a little bit on new assets to add that we're seeing a lot of traction on OP mainnet, Base, Mode, Fractal, etc. And just ushering the growth of DeFi and across the Superchain. So that's my role in a nutshell.
Amazing. Can you give us kind of an overview of what Superfest is?
Superfest is. Yes, of course.
More importantly, what inspired it as well? What obviously you want to get more attention to these kind of DeFi builders, but what inspired Superfest itself?
Yeah, so despite its name, Superfest is not an actual festival. I've had a lot of DMs from musicians saying, hey, can I participate in Superfest, which has been an interesting output of this entire thing. But so no, it's not an IRL festival. It's actually, we're framing it as a celebration of all the builders across the Superchain that are building DeFi applications and delivering value back to the Optimisn collective. So just some of the nitty-gritty details, we are spurring growth and activity by distributing 1.5 million OP tokens to around 35 DeFi developers. And the range of actions are lend against ETH or borrow against wrap-staked ETH. And there's also a numerous different types of applications, but it's it's actions such as those that we're incentivizing. And the inspiration really was, oftentimes within crypto, you see all of these applications start to be incentivized, and they're there's a lot of rewards on each individual application, but there's no single coherent campaign structured around those. And I think for users, it can be overwhelming, right? How do I actually navigate all these different incentive opportunities? And I think what we're trying to achieve here on one level is just centralizing all these opportunities within DeFi in one single campaign and user interface. So we're working with Jumper, and they've been such an incredible partner. And they are really the front end for Superfest in the sense that any user can go onto Jumper right now. We've done actually a UI takeover of Jumper. And so they can go on to jumper.exchange/superfest and see all of the opportunities that users can participate in and understand not what only is going on OP mainnet, but what's going on Base, on Mode, on Fractal, and start to connect the dots of saying, hey, I actually hold Easy ETH from Renzo on OP mainnet. Oh, I actually now see that there's an opportunity for Easy ETH on Base. Let me actually bridge over to Base through Jumper and deposit assets there. So we're trying to like make this whole system feel a little bit more coherent, which is like the whole thesis of the Superchain. It's like there's always been like these separate blockchains. It's really hard to connect what's going on between all those. And with Superfest, it's like our nod and our first attempt to try to like kind of make all of these reward opportunities a little bit more cohesive.
I jumped on yesterday, and it felt like it was a scavenger hunt of things to do. And I was super excited because not only was it like, here's all the things you can do and showcasing like, here's where this kind of like blockchain kind of shines with this opportunity and whatnot. But that it was, like you said, the ease and the friction has kind of been removed. I think DeFi felt like this octopus with chainsaws in every tentacle to a lot of people before. That you can use that metaphor if you'd like, where people are just like, DeFi, that's a lot, goodbye. Like, and I think now it's become way more palatable to like, do I just park my cash or can I use it in some ways to get a return or vice versa or whatever. And so with modern wallets and then the way that this is all framed out, it seems super easy to not only like do a lot, but also just stick your toe in the water and start to kind of tinker and find out. So it's super cool from what I've seen so far, and I'm excited to see how it goes with others.
100%. Yeah. No, I felt the same way on the UI yesterday. I was like, this feels so easy, finally. Myself as like a crypto user, I was like, all right, let me just click around.
So exciting. So let's talk about the 1.5 million OP that's been allocated. What are the main incentives for users to participate? And perhaps maybe speak a little to those that are not DeFi maxis and maybe someone who's like, what the hell is DeFi?
Yeah, so I think it's like the easiest way to explain the incentives across the Superchain is like explaining them through like the categories that there are. So there's like 4 or 5 distinct categories of what you can do on chain. One is an AMM, so like a DEX like Velodrome and Aerodrome, a money market such as Aave and Morpho, liquid staking tokens. So those are like the actual token providers or token issuers, such as the EtherFi team with their distinct restaking tokens, and then derivatives. So these are the teams like Quenta, Lyra, Polynomial, Perpetual Protocol. So these are like all the different venues within DeFi. And so what we've really tried to do is incorporate each of these different venues and categories into Superfest. So I would say from like on the very easy side of the spectrum of what users can do is you can deposit, let's say, wrap staked ETH into Aave and provide liquidity to that money market, just so it improves the overall health of the borrowing side of the money market. Or you can, within Aerodrome, they have a really cool opportunity where if you just lock your Aero tokens and receive their V-Aero NFT, maybe this is more on the intermediate side. V-Aero gets you voting rights within Aerodrome, and you actually can deposit your V-Aero NFT into a liquidity pool and actually make it so that you earn a portion of the trading fees that happen within that pool. More on the advanced side is anything around the derivatives market. So Quenta, Polynomial, Perpetual Protocol. These are options trading platforms. So it's a little bit more on the price speculation aspect. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that with 1.5 million OP, we've tried to spread it, pretty evenly across all of the protocols and allow every single type of user the access to kind of, dip their toes in the water and also engage in DeFi in the way that they like to, right? We're not trying to say, hey, we're only focusing incentives on this one type of on-chain transact or on-chain action, because then it feels like we are giving an opinionated stance on DeFi in general and like what has the most PMF. That has like never been our intention. Our intention is to just showcase, hey, this is everything that's happening within DeFi. Go take your pick. And so we will likely try to do something like this in the future. And maybe we can build out something a little bit more instructive, saying like, hey, this is actually like, give some type of like beginner, intermediate, like advanced type of track. But right now it's like there's a lot of opportunities. And if you feel comfortable doing something on chain, we've tried to incentivize that with OP.
It's very exciting. Run, folks. Go start. Go get going, get moving.
Exactly.
Question?
No, I was just gonna say I think that the layout of this is very choose your own adventure, but I do think like you as you reiterate, almost like a roadmap of destinations of like here's like lending land and money, like to like help spell out, I think, and give it, because I think that DeFi again is still very intimidating for a lot of people. So I do like that you weren't like, hey, you dangle the rewards higher over like the super risky thing and just like people go to their own perils potentially. This I think is a more free approach. So I really like that logic. But I also think that like it's great now, and the iterations beyond it to help make people, again, not that they're like, you're in crypto, you have to get into DeFi, but like I think reducing that friction to make it like where I understand what I'm doing instead of I clicked a button and I hope I don't get harmed somehow. Exactly. I think that is like how we'll really kind of see growth in the space and have like really plentiful pools of liquidity so people can do and transact easier. So
1,000%.
Super cool.
Do you think we still have a ways to go to educate in terms of safety and kind of self-protection online before we really see decent like finance be trusted by the masses?
I think for myself, like it's, even though I'm pretty advanced when it comes to DeFi, even structuring out this campaign, I had to like speak with some of these developers to try to truly understand what their product does and like understand its like subtle nuances. And so I do this for a living, right? I do this every day. So I can only imagine like a new user might be intimidated because in like there's still some things that you could maybe like some missteps that a casual user could make on some of these protocols. So there's definitely room for improvement in terms of like education. And then also like I would say in terms of safety, like I think something that we really need to like improve is like there's a bunch of like teams that were like emulating front ends of certain like even of the Superfest front end, right? Like teams have like started to emulate it, and like myself way back in the day, I fell victim to like a similar type of attack where like it like drained my wallet. So I guess this is like a PSA to everyone, like to always please like check the domain that you're on, like double and triple check it, and make sure that you're only like, going on to verified sources. I think it's super easy to fall victim to like a slight change in spelling and then unknowingly, fall victim to one of these like phishing attacks or, wallet drainers. So I just want to like make sure that's clear to everyone watching that like stay vigilant when you're interacting with DeFi, because it's still in some ways like in development, and people see this as an opportunity and a honeypot.
We just had an instant almost during the live broadcast because I was tweeting out the space and there was a link. Optimism shared the space. JJ shared it, and a link right beneath it that about an airdrop, and I looked and it was Optimism spelled with 2 I's. So
exactly. And so over this past weekend, a similar example happened, and I hope this is not scaring users. Just like I think it's better to.
I think it's good to talk about and to know the pitfalls than to go like, oh, I went to go check it out, and you know what? There was an airdrop that I got for free right after it. I'm just waiting for it to come.
Exactly.
like I think that it's speaking about it to know that
Yeah.
there's automated tools. So every time Optimism posts, that's trying to dupe people. And so like look at the main post, make sure you're really at the entrance gates to Superfest before the musicians start. No, I'm just kidding. And then go from there. Everything should be safe, right? Because it's links from the website. But making sure that you're at the right starting point is the path.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, this past weekend, I was like, I saw that there was like an emulated website of our loading page, and so I went through for like an hour and a half and like reported the domain to like every single service provider that like flags websites. And I'm like now doing that again with like some of these other ones. So we're staying vigilant, of course, but like users definitely, be smart, double and triple check. Just like, especially when these campaigns happen, it's like a lot of people who see it as an opportunity. So yeah, I'll just like, we can end it there, but I think it's smart for, users to, always double check.
So now that it is out in the wild and you can, finally talk about it, what are you most excited about? What's kind of a win scenario for you? What does it look like?
Yeah, so always the inspiration of Superfest and like the metrics that we are tracking are like both like, hard numbers, but also like social aspects. So of course, the TVL of the Superchain, like the collective TVL of the Superchain is something that we're tracking closely to see, hey, if we put together this massive campaign for 4 chains together, like how do we see the growth of all these chains together? So we're looking at TVL growth, of course. And so that would be like a massive win if we saw like a large or significant increase in TVL. The second thing that I'm really excited to see are teams starting to work closer together across the Superchain. And we've already seen that already within the Telegram. So like we have like a Telegram of all the teams participating. And what I think is super cool is that, an AMM that was only on Optimism prior is now expanding to base or expanding to base and mode. And this is the vision, right? This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to foster this like collective cooperation between all these developers across the core Superchain. And so that's what I think is like the biggest win, because, TVL comes and goes, of course, right, as market fluctuations occur. But having teams take this as an opportunity to deploy on a new chain within the Superchain, like that work is never wasted, depending, like regardless of the market. And so I think that's a big win for me. And that's what like we're starting to see at the very beginning. And it's like, I love it. I love to see that.
Yeah, it like proves the thesis of like if everyone can go fast because there's a shared stack, but then beyond that you can share this, not the full secret sauce, but like you can share that across chains to help everybody win or help users grow. Like it's super cool, and that's why we're so super, like literally why we're doing this show is there's so much cool stuff going that we want to like surface that and thrive. I did have. Is there something behind the wristbands? Like some kind of, is there a team I want to like mint specifically more than others? Is there some kind of connection alpha, please?
Okay.
Because if not, I'm going to mint a couple of them.
Yes. So you may have noticed on the jumper front end that it says the wristbands are coming soon. So essentially right now we're just like doing the final tweaks on this, but very shortly, every single time you claim OP from a certain chain, you're able to basically mint a NFT wristband specific to that chain. So let's take, for instance, I am depositing ETH on an application on Mode, and I claim the OP from that action on Mode. I would then be able to mint the Mode wristband. What we are encouraging users to do is that to mint all the wristbands across all the chains, and that is the user action that we would love to see, and really that demonstrates to me and to everyone that you are a Superchain power user, and so that is like for me kind of like the ideal outcome, and so when we're talking about like what are we looking for, like seeing everyone saying like I collected all 4, that would be something that I think would be like an awesome outcome of this.
Yeah, so I go to a lot of concerts, and so lots of wristbands usually. Like I click in for this because I want to start fresh for the Superfest. But I can see like if you got all of them, like I'm not gonna say there's an Infinity Gauntlet that you're kind of building, but that would be cool, right? But so definitely, I'm gonna try and get all of them just in case.
Yeah. It's like gotta catch them all, Pokemon type of style. Like gotta get them all.
Yeah.
We got to gamify everything in this community.
Yes,
we know how behavior works here. It's
of course.
So really excited. We're definitely going to drop a bunch of links below these videos. Do not, just be careful, folks. DYOR, obviously, as always, with the links. But yeah, this is really exciting. So anything happening related to Superfest specifically in ECC? Any other announcements coming that we need to look out for?
So no other events specific to Superfest at ECC. The only thing that I would want to share with the audience about Superfest specifically is that Superfest is growing and growing, and this is just the beginning of it. So we will be announcing more partnerships and more opportunities to participate throughout Superfest. So definitely stay tuned to our Twitter and also just for Superfest related content, and also just in general. I think right now Optimisn is shipping a lot of really cool updates, and so stay tuned as well in terms of protocol updates as well.
What any builders out there that are watching whose ears just pricked up when you said there's going to be more opportunities? Who are you looking for? What's your ideal kind of fit
in terms of like builders to connect into Superfest?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think mainly if you have my Twitter handle, or if you have if you follow me on Twitter, please DM me if you want to get involved. We are not gatekeepers when it comes to participating in Superfest. There's many ways, right? You don't need to be a DeFi protocol. Case in point, we're working with both the Bubble Maps team and the Disco team in working with them in terms of tracking on-chain actions with Bubble Maps, and then finding new and interesting ways to basically understand the Superchain users through Disco, and they do like really cool things with essentially allowing your on-chain behavior to unlock additional opportunities. So yeah, those are two teams that are working with already. And so if you have an idea of how you'd like to bootstrap off of the NFT idea with the wristbands, or any additional incentives you want to contribute, or a DeFi builder who just wants exposure, definitely hit me up. So yeah, that's my call to action to everyone.
Amazing. Brock, any other questions before we start to wrap it up?
I was gonna make a joke about musicians DMing you, but I'm gonna hold back because I think you've already been hit with those. But if it is an in life event, that would be super cool to grow into that, to where it's literally Superfest. But yeah. So.
I don't know whether. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, so the funny thing is that my team was joking because I DJ a little bit on the side, and so they're like, Mark, you should do a live stream where you DJ and then like do something related to Superfest, and so.
Yes.
Do a DJ set that extends every time someone does a DeFi transaction.
Oh wow! So it's just gonna be infinite.
I mean,
Mark's not eaten in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, please stop DeFiing.
Yeah, please. Yeah, please slow down.
Cool. That is fantastic, and we're definitely going to be hitting you in the DMs, Marcus. I'm not sure whether you caught any of what we were chatting about, but we're building a solution for nonprofits to actually enable on-chain giving. Without any kind of heavy lift. So we're trying to encourage a little more altruism in the space. So yes,
of course. I've worked closely with the endowment team, so
we just integrated with them. So yeah.
Nice. Awesome. They're an awesome team. They're very OP aligned. So
amazing. All right. Well, that has been the Superchain Spotlight. Mark, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day for joining us. Folks, go follow Swell Crypto on Twitter. And we will be back. We're going to be back tomorrow, actually, with the folks from GameSwift. So talking about on-chain gaming. And then Friday, we're replaying our episode with Benji. And then we'll be back next week for another week of Superchain fun, folks.
Awesome.
That's it for today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.